Well, a few weeks ago, I let you guys know of my plan to buy an FJ Cruiser, and as you can see, I do not own one yet, but I wanted to give you guys an update on the search process and how that's going. And although I let you know a few weeks ago of my plan to buy one, I've actually been searching quite a bit longer than that. It's been about a year since I got really serious in my FJ Cruiser search. 6 months or so ago, I almost bought one, had cash in hand, took a drive over to the valley to pick it up, got there, and there was a huge dent on the bottom of the doors that the dealer hadn't fully disclosed in advance. And so I obviously didn't buy it, but it's been very representative of how this whole search has gone. It's very challenging to find a good FJ Cruiser that's in good shape, that's been well cared for, that doesn't have issues, that is a decent price. And so continuing to try to search for that perfect FJ. Now, I think there's a few reasons why they're so hard to come by. One of the reasons is that there's this huge following for the FJ Cruiser. It's this iconic vehicle, it's extremely popular, yet at the same time, Toyota only produced 170,000 units over the course of its lifespan in the US between 2007 and 2014. For comparison, in a single year, they produce almost that many 4Runners. And so just despite the fact that it's this very popular vehicle, very iconic, the numbers out there are very limited, and there is a large group in comparison that's vying to find these good deals and buy these FJ Cruisers. So I think that's part of the challenge that I'm having. On top of that, because it's this really iconic vehicle that's very popular and it's now been discontinued for 6 years, it's kind of become this modern collector's vehicle. So I think there are a lot of people out there like myself that really appreciated the FJ Cruiser, figured, yeah, when the timing's right, I'll buy one. Then all of a sudden, Toyota ceased production on them, and they realized, wait a second, if I want to get a good FJ Cruiser that's been well cared for, that's lowish mileage, this is my chance to do it. Like, time might be running out on that. And so I think that there's this mad rush to buy those FJ Cruisers that are low mileage, that are newer years, that are really good condition. And I've noticed that especially with the Trail Teams packages, where those models just sell incredibly quick. The other thing that's really hard is that the FJ Cruiser, because it's this off-road focused vehicle, it's hard to find one that is in stock condition and that's been well cared for. Obviously, a lot of people out there that are doing heavy modifications to them. I plan on doing some modifications myself, but as I've mentioned before, modifications are generally very individual specific. And so depending on what you're looking for, you may not appreciate all these changes that people have made to a specific FJ Cruiser. And for me personally, I'd really like to get one that's completely stock. And so that's hard to do. On top of that, finding one that is in good condition, that hasn't been off-roaded incredibly hard, is a challenge. And the other thing that I'm really finding is that a lot of them have significant rust on the undercarriage and chassis. Now, because of where I live, we've got a really dry climate. They don't salt our roads. Vehicles here are essentially rust-free. And so I'd really like to get one that's completely rust-free. Buying an FJ Cruiser has been kind of a dream for me. And if I get one, it's a vehicle that I see keeping basically forever. And so I want to get one that is 100% rust-free, that the body is in perfect condition, so that's a vehicle that's worth really continuing to preserve and maintain into the years. Now, despite all that, those good models do exist out there. There are some good deals to be found. There are good FJ Cruisers still available, and there are 4 options that I want to share that I'm considering for purchasing. Now, this first model is a 2007 in the Voodoo Blue, which has always been my favorite color on the FJ Cruiser. I think it's the iconic color for these because it dates back to that original concept when it first came out. This vehicle is pretty cool. It's a one-owner vehicle. It's only got about 50,000 original miles, and as you can see, it looks great. It's a California vehicle, and so it's rust-free. The condition is very good. Unfortunately, the seller has been incredibly difficult to get a hold of. There's no phone number on the ad. I've tried emailing him. He emails back about once a day, and he won't answer my questions. I asked him for a phone number so we could just talk over the phone, maybe get some of my questions answered, and basically been completely unresponsive. So although this one's a great deal, and I think this is the one I would buy if I could get a hold of the guy, and assuming it's all in good condition, everything checks out, I don't think it's going to work out. I imagine he's probably getting bombarded with people contacting him. Like I was saying, because it's this iconic vehicle, when you find these ones that are in really good condition, low mileage, single owner, they sell really fast because of people that are looking to get that collector model. This next one is also a really cool option. It is Cavalry Blue, which is another one of my favorite colors on the FJ Cruiser, located in the Reno area. I actually almost bought this one a couple weeks ago. I had a trip planned down to Reno. I was going to go down there with a friend, pick it up. I had negotiated a price. And then I just got kind of cold feet about it. You can see looking at the pictures, it looks pretty nice. Again, it's that Cavalry blue, which I love, but then at the same time, you look at the wheels and they've got rust on them. The roof rack looks kind of faded. He sent me a few pictures of the undercarriage and there is a little bit of rust, but the pictures weren't very good, so I couldn't really get a full appreciation for how much rust there actually is. But it just kind of worries me overall. The fact that this guy, you know, the wheels have rust on them, it's just an indication that maybe he hasn't really cared for the vehicle as well as I would have liked, you know, or that I would want if I'm buying this vehicle secondhand. Could be an indication of how well the vehicle's been maintained. Maybe he's never washed the vehicle. It just kind of brings up some of those questions about the condition. Along with that, it does have 138,000 miles, so it's not real high, but again, for a vehicle that's almost $20,000, I don't know, it starts to make me kind of question just a little bit whether this is really the one. So definitely still kind of on my mind, but at this point I'm kind of leaning against this one. This next one is a 2010. One thing that's kind of worth noting is that the 2010 and newer models do have an upgraded engine, better performance numbers in terms of power output as well as fuel economy. They've also corrected a few of the issues that they had with the early years. And so 2010 and newer would really kind of be the sweet spot for quite a few reasons, but along with that, they tend to be a little bit more expensive. So this 2010 model, as you can see, it's a pretty good looking vehicle. I actually went and saw this one in person, took it for a drive. It was in great condition. It drove incredibly well. It's been local to Central Oregon for its entire life, so it's essentially rust free. There's just a little bit of surface rust, but nothing that I couldn't clean up quite easily. And the paint's in excellent condition. The one thing I don't really like about this one is that I've always dreamed of a blue FJ Cruiser, so getting one that's silver is a little bit less exciting. But one thing that was kind of cool when I saw this one is it actually looks quite a bit darker than other silvers that I've seen in the past. I think that in 2010 they actually made the color just a little bit darker, and so when you see it in person, it almost has a little bit of this cement look to it. It's not the matte color, but it's kind of the same shade of gray. So kind of got me a little bit more excited about it. It's also got pretty low miles, and the other thing that's great about it is that it's here, and so I don't have to fly across the country. I don't have to travel a long way to go pick it up. I do feel like the price is just a little bit on the higher side, but still, when you compare it to most other vehicles that are 2010 and newer with this mileage, it seems to be pretty good for the FJ Cruiser. And then this next one is awesome. It's a 2012. It's located here in Oregon, so again, I wouldn't have to travel too far to pick it up. 100,000 miles, and as you can see, it is absolutely gorgeous. I love the army green, and the condition of this vehicle just seems incredible. Now, the only thing about this one is when they originally posted the vehicle, it was listed for just under $25,000. As you can see looking at the ad, now it's listed for $27,000. I was actually working with one of the salesmen, asking some questions. He was responding. All of a sudden, he went dark, and then the next morning, I saw that they had raised the price. So probably the reason why he stopped communicating with me is all of a sudden they realized, hey, we're getting a lot of interest in this vehicle from me and from other people out there. We must have it listed too low, which I would say they did. It was actually a very good price for a green 2012. So they raised the price to $27,000. So then all of a sudden I was like, well, I don't really like that way of doing business. It's almost an issue of principle at that point, where $27,000, it's still a pretty decent price for this specific vehicle, but it doesn't make me feel as good about things. And he's like, oh, you can make an offer. So I guess I could have offered $25,000, but at that point I almost wanted to kind of make a point and be like, you know what, that's how you're going to do business. I'm not sure I want to work with you guys on this one. And then the other thing too is once I got a copy of the Carfax report, I saw that it had spent some time in the Midwest, and so although I haven't seen pictures of the undercarriage, kind of brings up that question again of whether there may be rust. So great looking vehicle, but out of principle, probably not going to go with this one. So that's a small sampling of some of the FJ Cruiser options that I'm considering. I know that on the surface, these all seem incredibly overpriced, and they certainly feel that way to me as well. That's part of the predicament that I'm finding myself in, but it's kind of the nature of the beast with the FJ Cruiser market. They've got incredibly good resale value, and the reality is that these four options are actually priced incredibly well in terms of the overall market. If you're looking to get an FJ Cruiser that's been well cared for and has relatively low mileage, they are very pricey. Love to get your guys' comments in the section below. Which of these four options do you like the most? They may not be available by the time this video publishes and you guys are commenting, but I'd still love to get your feedback, input on what you think of the overall FJ Cruiser market. Hopefully before too long, one of these four options or another option will be sitting in my garage. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on my progress. In the meantime, thanks for watching.